I'm Keon.
And this is inevitable, that podcast where we lock the two of us in a room till one of us dies, because this week we watched Once Upon a Time.
Written by Patrick McGoohan.
Directed by Patrick McGoohan.
And aired on January 25th, 1968. So, okay, before we get into this, you know how Patrick McGoohan, used pseudonyms for a lot of the stuff that he wrote and directed? Well,
Yeah.
For this he didn't, obviously. And, just kind of telling, I guess, that would be telling, but yeah, just kind of telling and hilarious that, this is what he wanted his name attached to, and not some of the other stuff that he did.
Well, according to the book of viewing notes, Patrick McGoohan did use a pseudonym when he gave the script to the cast because he didn't think it would get approved if it had his name on, because it was just so insane. So apparently the name he had on the script when he gave it to the production crew was Archibald Schwartz.
Wow. He was executive producing the show at this point, right? So who would have vetoed this?
Wasn't this episode produced pretty early though? Yeah, this was the sixth episode to produce.
True,
to be produced.
Yeah.
So I think this was actually produced before George Markstein left. Even though by the time this airs, Markstein's buggered off from the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe this episode was going to be the original intended season finale back when McGoohan was still negotiating two shorter seasons of 10 or 13 episodes.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows whether they would have had that cliffhanger ending if it was supposed to be a season finale. Because this is, I think, the first episode that ends going into the next one, or ends on a cliffhanger. Pretty sure
and
all the
last
other
also.
Yeah, and the last. Yeah, wow.
So good times from Patrick McGoohan, just going power crazy, going power crazed on the set of The Prisoner. Leo McKern just having to deal with this as the only other actor of note in the story besides the butler, Angelo Muscat, or Musquet. Still don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, well, some sources say that Leo McKern suffered suffered on set. Some sources say he had a nervous breakdown. Some say he had a heart attack.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think the general gist is that he definitely had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, I feel like the heart attack is that gets passed through the nervous breakdown thing gets passed through the grapevine enough, and all of a sudden it's whoa, he had a heart attack on set. But who knows at this point.
There's a quote from McKern in the great tome. Thank you again to Boz for providing us with pictures from the book. There's a quote from McKern where he says, "He was almost impossible to work with, a dreadful bully, always shouting and screaming and yelling about the place, hurrying up, saving money."
Yeah, I mean, at least he was saving on budget.
And then he goes on, "I used to get very depressed, I remember. I used to lie in my dressing room in the short times we had off and worry and be depressed and very silent, because when I became depressed, this sort of figure that people have come to associate with me in parts is not the sort of person inside. The person inside is very withdrawn and quiet. Certainly when one is shouted at, it doesn't inspire one to do anything except withdraw into oneself, which I did a great deal of."
Yeah, wow.
Wow. I mean, we all knew Patrick McGoohan was a dick.
Yeah.
But of course, oh geez, there's a quote here from Doris Martin where she recalls the incident as part of the BECTU history project. Leo McKern had a breakdown because he's a very conscientious man. Of course, Pat was drinking very heavily then. He wasn't the same man.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep. Apparently this and Fallout were written like on very short notice. And Patrick McGoohan, I don't know if this is true or not, but like I forget where I read this too, but you know, some sources say like he just went like, yeah, I have no idea how to end this series, so he just wrote this and Fallout.
This very clearly seems like it's leading into just something even more insane next week.
Yeah, Fallout, I mean, I know I've said this multiple times, but Fallout truly has to be seen to be believed. I'll just say it again. Like, I have no idea how anything in Fallout was okayed. I don't know what TV executive watched Fallout and said, yes, this is what we're putting out.
Well, Patrick McGoohan was the executive producer by the time that one was produced.
Yeah, true. And, yeah, I mean, other people, I guess, felt the same way. It upset, like, a ton of people.
So the original name of this story was Degree Absolute, named after the process that number 6 is subject to, which is a play on the term decree absolute, which is the final dissolution of a marriage in divorce proceedings.
Yeah, oh man, okay, hold on. I read something recently about the origin of the degree sign, and it seems kind of relevant here, so let me see if I can find it. Just vamp for a bit.
Well, while you're looking for that, we all knew Patrick McGoohan was a jerk. So let's bathe in this great quote from Patrick McGoohan himself. This is a favorite of mine. It's a little autobiographical. It's always nice to get that stuff out of your system, isn't it? Great. Patrick McGoohan basically admitting he wrote a script to basically just beat on poor Leo McKern for an hour.
Yeah, no wonder George Markstein wanted to dissociate himself from this.
Honestly, I'm shocked George didn't leave earlier in the show. I'm surprised he made it to episode 11 or 12 or whatever it was before leaving.
Yeah, maybe that's, I don't know, this is circumstantial and a guess, but maybe that's evidence towards a 13 episode or 12 episode like original season, because there's disputes over whether it was going to be 7 or 2 seasons of 12 or like what was going to actually happen. But maybe Markstein staying as long as he did is an indication that it was going to be like 12 episodes or something. Well, anyway, I found this thing. This is just from some random person on Twitter, so I have no idea where they got this from or where yeah. But so apparently our symbol for degree comes from the Babylonian symbol for sun, which is, in this episode, they're under these harsh fluorescent lights that look like rover. So maybe that has something to do with the degree pun.
This episode also confirms that Rover is number 2 this week. The first time we see and the only time we see the number 2 control room, the chair comes out of the ground and then spins around to reveal who else but Rover sitting in the number 2 control chair.
Yeah. It is, in the intro, it is Leo McKern, though, as number 2.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. We've literally had multiple episodes this season where the number 2 in the title sequence isn't the number 2 of the episode because they're misleading you.
No, I don't think we have had that. I think we've had ones where it doesn't show number 2 or just doesn't show number 2. I don't think we've had ones where it's actually someone else in the chair.
The one with the election free-for-all?
That's the only one that I can think of. But then that one raises the question of, was that number 2 ever number 2, or was it always
It's still a precedent.
I guess. Yeah, and just having, you could tell they really had to like squeeze Rover into that chair. Like, didn't look like it was fitting very well.
I mean, I just love the image of the silent, terrifying, unmoving Rover sitting in the chair as number two. I legitimately was like, is Rover number two this week? My second note right here, Rover is number two confirmed.
Yeah, and I had no idea until this episode, even having watched the show before, that Rover was supposed to kind of look like the sun. Kind of kind of reminds me of The Stranger, that book
By, I
by
was to say,
Albert
is that the
Camus.
Camus book?
Yeah, which in a way, I don't know, kind of, maybe I don't know if this is true or not, but it's The Stranger kind of seemed, I don't know when it was written. I think it was the 50s, but like seems like it kind of has something to do with this show. It's kind of similar in name, The Stranger, The Prisoner, which in the UK I think it's actually called The Outsider, but the stranger that is,
Well,
not
the
the
prisoner
prisoner.
is the outsider of the village.
Yeah, but he's also the insider because he can't get out.
He's also
X
number two
Files theme
now.
and
Dun
Twilight
dun
Zone theme
dun.
play at the same time. Yeah.
Dun dun dun. At least that's how I interpreted the ending.
Well, this episode it goes some wild places, and much of it is a slog to get through. Personally, I thought I was kind of dreading this episode because I remember it being a slog to get through, but I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Well,
Mark Steen was wrong.
I think Markstein was right. Oh, I don't think I actually read the Markstein quote or the sentence on recording. So let me just do that so people know what we're referring to. Because off recording, I mentioned I think I was with George Markstein on this one. And so basically, when Patrick gave the script to the production crew, Andrew Pixley notes the script was not one to find favor with George Markstein, who felt that it was gibberish and he had little to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say, Mark Steen.
I'm with you, George. You know, I'm impressed George made it this long on the show before being like, you know what, Patrick McGoohan is just a controlling ass. So screw this.
Look, it's always the most egomaniacal people who make the best stuff.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Casablanca is a classic, and that movie was basically made by a studio.
Well, anyway, we get the intro. It's Leo McKern in number two's chair again. What was your reaction to seeing Leo McKern
Well, I
again?
knew he was coming back, and
Did you know it was going to be in this
we were
one?
rapidly running out of episodes. So,
Could have been Fallout.
well, I mean, I know
Yeah.
about the fact that he had 3 appearances and not just 2. So,
Oh, yeah, okay. Alrighty then.
so with only 2
Yeah,
episodes
so-
remaining, it became extremely obvious.
Well, okay, so one interesting thing in this intro is that unlike every other I in Albertus, the I in time in Once Upon a Time is dotted. So kind of incorporating Rover into the episode name.
That's an interesting
There.
interpretation of that.
Yeah, just thought of it 2 seconds ago. Yeah, and Rover doesn't play a huge role in the episode. It's only just in the chair there, which we see the first thing. It's basically the first thing we see in the episode is the number 2 chair swivels about, and Rover is crammed in.
Rover is number 2, I'm telling you.
Yeah, the new number 2. Wonder if anyone voted Rover like as a fill in the name ballot thing in free for all.
All hail I mean, that cult of Rover worshippers in the cave, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So, number two's explaining, well, not really explaining. He's on the phone with presumably number 1, and he's like, look, you brought me back here to break number 6, so this time we're doing it my way and not your way. We're going to do it the way I always wanted to do it.
Which is the way that behind the scenes Patrick McGoohan always wanted to do it.
which
weirdly
is just
enough.
lots of yelling and nonsensical nothingness.
Well, okay, so speaking of yelling, number two kind of goes off on the butler here, and I was like, come on, man, the butler doesn't deserve that, because he brings him some, like, food and it's too salty or something. I don't know what was wrong with it. And number two was like, get this out of my sight, except he yells that instead of saying it. And I don't know, butler doesn't deserve that.
Oh, the butler knows what he's getting into with his job. He knows that number two is just going to basically treat him like garbage, probably fail to even acknowledge his existence most of the time.
Yeah, but even that is better than getting yelled at for just bringing in some food.
True. True.
So number two looks at number six on the screen and keeps wondering why he cares. Number six is pacing back and forth, eating something. Anorakazone actually calls this out as like a weird thing that at this point in the series, number six would be paranoid and on the edge of his seat. I didn't really see the pacing as that though. I just thought he was kind of walking around and eating.
Let me see. Papa Paso mentions that the pacing is probably related to the fact that this was produced pretty early in the run, and number six actually got like less angry the longer he was there and more just quietly defiant. And so this is probably more of a throwback back to the like angry demeanor he had in like Chimes of Big Ben, for example.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what Anorak Zone says as well. I don't know, I didn't see it like that though. I just kind of thought he was just walking and eating.
Maybe. I didn't really pay much attention to it, honestly.
Well, doesn't matter because once again the village employs the hypno lamp
Ah, the
to
hypno lamp.
brainwash. Yeah, bring it back for one last spotlight in the action. And well, in a way, actually, that lamp is kind of like the sun and Rover as well, because it's right above number six's face. And that's the worst thing too, is that number six, throughout all of this, over the more than 1 year that he's been in the village, never like found out about the hypno lamp, as far as we know.
It's honestly the village's best kept secret is the hypno lamp.
I wonder if they have those in every house, or if it's just number six's.
Who knows, but I did note that this number two also likes just blustering into number six's apartment, basically living there. He sleeps there that night.
Yeah. The next morning, number six is fully brainwashed. His mind is regressed to that of a child, so they bring him in to where else but the redressed number two room. With a black curtain around it this time, so it looks different.
So we do get a scene of number two going into the like surveillance room and talking to the supervisor who got fired in Hammer into Anvil and immediately came back like the next week about going to Degree Absolute, and the supervisor's like, are you sure? For how long? And number two's like, for 1 whole week. We also get a weird scene that doesn't play into anything. It might have just been put there to like pad out the runtime, where number six meets with some random guy and just goes, how? Who are you? What's your number? Why are you here? And the guy's just like, shush, stop. Someone's going to find out.
Well, that scene might kind of be a little important because he's asking questions, so that's why they're getting upset. And if you remember the signs that we've kind of seen in a few different episodes, questions are a burden to others, answers a prison for oneself.
That's true.
Some of the sites I looked at also claimed that this episode's original script had other characters in it that were eventually cut to just focus on number six and number two, and the butler, kind of. So maybe this was part of that, and a lot of that stuff got cut, and this just remained in somehow. I don't know.
I mean, there was a scene with a mysterious number 86 that was cut that no one knows what it was. And we only know it probably got cut because there's a guy credited in the credits as number 86, but he doesn't appear anywhere in the episode.
Yeah, well.
So, who knows?
So, number two brings number six into a place called the Embryo.
Right, which is this black room that Keon mentioned earlier was just like the number two control room with black curtains.
Yeah. So apparently, what this place is, it's a room where you can relive, the cradle of the grave, or go back through. Wikipedia had the actual term. I think it was regression therapy, which is, I guess, a real thing where you try and like go back and live through previous moments of your life. And that's number two's plan. He's going to make number six do this until he reveals why he resigned.
Right.
Honestly, like on paper, this seems like a pretty good plan. Like if regression therapy in the prisoner universe is like a real thing that really works, like having him go back through his life is a pretty great way to figure out why he resigned.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of works. I was going to mention this at the end with, is this a win for number six? But number six never reveals why he resigns, but he does reveal that it was for secret purposes, top secret, and implies, by agreeing with number two when number two asks if it was for his own personal conscience, he implies that he agrees with that assessment. Even though we still don't know the circumstances surrounding it, we do learn moderately some more information.
Yeah, Leo McKern's number two overall is the most successful number two, because if you remember back to Chimes of Big Ben, he almost succeeded.
If only for that one freaking detail of the train and the clock.
Here he gets a lot closer than most of the number twos have gotten. So he's pretty good. And it's no wonder that number one called him back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious why he's back. He's the best.
Yeah. He's the best around.
And nothing's going to ever bring him down.
Yeah. Well, except...
death.
Yeah.
Alleged death.
Yeah,
I really thought the final scene of this episode was going to be Leo McKern's number two lying on the ground, opening his eyes, and being not dead, Well,
you'll see how they incorporate him into next week's episode.
Will he just be an android? They'll have an... I mean, we already know they can create, like, identical duplicates of people using surgery thanks to the schizoid man.
Yeah, in Fallout, they actually just rip off everyone's faces, and they're all replicants.
We reveal that Leo McKern is actually Patrick McGoohan pretending to be Leo McKern.
And that the guy given the role of number one this week, or the guy taken to number one this week, was, oh my god, Leo McKern. What was it? Never mind. Who knows? Who cares? Let's just get on with this. Because now we're getting to the real crazy stuff.
So
number six is acting weird, and it's pretty obvious pretty early that he has gone back to like a childhood state of mind.
Right. So this is... as Wikipedia notes, the idea of regressive therapy, also called reparenting, which is a controversial form of psychotherapy in which the therapist actively assumes the role of a new or surrogate parental figure for the client in order to treat psychological disturbances caused by defective, even abusive parenting. That's a direct quote from Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what number two is doing here. He takes on the role of like a dad. He takes on the role of like a professor, I think.
Yeah, so let's go through them. So first he is number six's dad. Number six is like in a cradle. He takes the rattle from the butler. Number two and the butler are also wearing those glasses with the eye slit things. Some of the sites I looked at mentioned that this was, or that like part of the regression was brought on by the rover-like fluorescent light on the ceiling. So this was to help them not undergo that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Midnight Only said it was, like that they never saw this as like a literal, or they never saw it as like a literal part of the plan, but that it was more, I don't know, indicative of something else or more symbolic of whatever they say. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just have no idea.
They also stop wearing these glasses like very quickly.
Yeah, maybe indicating that they number two and the butler actually are also going through the regression,
Right.
perhaps.
Or possibly the glasses mean nothing, and they just realize that they were like it was a dumb decision to make the actors wear these glasses.
Well, anyway, after the whole baby sequence, we get something a lot more interesting, which is number six's school days, where he's brought into like the principal's office or whatever, or like one of his teacher's offices or something. And the teacher's number two, and he goes, "It's been 9 days. You still won't, tell me who was talking in class."
Mm-hmm.
And he still won't tell him. Number six is like, "It wasn't me, but I'm not going to tell you who did it. I'm not a rat."
Number two is like, of course you're a rat. You'll tell me. You'll tell me. Number six is like, no, I won't.
We didn't mention also that like they stay in here until one of them dies. Their time limit is like 1 week, but one of them is gonna. They heavily indicate that only one of them is gonna come out of this thing alive.
Yeah, they also basically straight up state that like if you make it to the end of the 7 days, someone just dies.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. Kind of, when you realize that, explains why number two is so desperate to immediately find out, like, why number six resigned.
Yeah, you kind of lose all sense of time in this episode, and you don't really know how much you're seeing. Is this a full 7 days? Is it one day? Like, you don't know, and the characters in the situation don't know either, because they're always, they're inside. All the light is artificial, artificial sun too. Like, that's kind of what it looks like. So
I wonder how they got like food in there.
well, they kind of explain it later on when they're talking about the little moving room, the moving jail cell that has like unlimited food or whatever.
I guess.
That's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those '60s things where it's like food machines that like just dispense unlimited food and water are like really cool and like incorporated into every show. And the prisoner is no exception.
The prisoner is bound by the same rules. Or something.
Yeah, it truly is the prisoner.
We truly are prisoners of this television show as well.
Finally, we are become the prisoner.
Great. Now I am become the prisoner. Destroyer of death. I don't know.
Well, death is still on the horizon because at this point, number two, I think, tells number six that he's going to become a unit of society and conform. And then we get number six's graduation.
Sort of. It's a bit of a farce. It's a lot of a farce.
Well, then we get some job interviews that number six fails.
Because he won't explain why he resigned.
Right. But eventually we get that number six became a secret agent, like, covertly. Like, and I think this leaves us with more questions than answers, but, like, it seems like he didn't even know, because he went to this interview, and then he was like, wait, this is a secret interview for, like, a secret position that isn't as advertised? Leo McKern is like, yup. Number six is like, sweet, I'll do it. That's what I got out of it. I don't know if that's how you interpreted that.
Yeah, kind of.
So, I mean, that's what I've always, taken to heart, is like, that's how number six became a secret agent.
Mm-hmm.
We finally get the payoff for the Pop Goes the Weasel stuff. because people had been humming that for the entire show.
Yeah, number 6, I think, says protect other people,
Yep.
protect other pop, protect other pop, 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 protect other pop,
Pop Apostle.
pop apostle, pop apopsel.
Yeah, I didn't realize until this watch through, but I actually interpreted that wrong before. I always heard it as protect our people, but it's actually protect other people.
Yeah, it's protect other people, you know? Maybe implying that number 6 is protecting someone else by not explaining why he resigned.
I think heavily implying that because of the connection between that and when he didn't rat out the guy who was talking in class.
Maybe that explains why he never learned about his fiancée, is because he's protecting her.
Maybe, yeah. I always linked my previous watchthroughs. I linked this back the whole thing they talk about in Leo McKern's other episode where he goes like, "We're a global society that." Oh, it was something like, I forget exactly what it was. It was like, we're a global society with the values of nationalism or something. So I always connected that to the pop because I thought it was protect our people, as in like only protect our people, don't protect anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's wrong. Now watching with headphones,
protect other people.
I realize that it's wrong. See, technology isn't all that bad, Patrick McGoohan. It let me more accurately engage with your crazy fever dream of an episode and hear the words that you put to screen correctly.
Great. Great. I think at some point here, number 2 tells number 6 not to be a lone wolf. And Pop Apostle mentions that lone wolf was a code name that John Drake, Danger Man, used a couple times on that show.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. Apparently there's a line in this episode where people confused number 2 saying break for Drake and use that as connection. Yeah.
It's with the, like, when he's playing the professor who wants to know who's talking in class, he says, "I'll see you in the morning, break." But people think he says, "I'll see you in the morning, Drake."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just goes to show you should really watch these things with headphones, you know. Break and Drake, other an hour. The prisoner really was.
Other than hour is a little, as this feels like you should be able to figure that one out without headphones.
Yeah, but really it just goes to show you how ahead of the time the prisoner was. You know, it was designed for headphones, but made before anyone would really be able to watch it with headphones.
Yeah, I mean, did they even have a conception of like the technology advancement we would have in terms of headphones? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, headphones existed at the time, but I don't think you could plug headphones into your TV. There's some TVs, I've seen CRTs and stuff where that had a headphone jack, but like, yeah, not at this time. I don't think probably no one even had headphones in 1968 or 7. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Well, they had them in the show the one time. I feel
yeah,
like
when number 6 went to the record store
yeah.
Both in The Girl Who Was Deaf and. Oh no, did he? They kind of just went into those booths, so maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't remember.
I'm sure he had them on the show. I guess what you were saying was that nobody like personally at home, or not many people owned like headphones just at home. You use it with your vinyl record player.
I mean, that's really all you could do with it is like plug it into your record player and kind of just sit next to the record player and listen.
Great. Listen to your nice, high-quality vinyl record.
Mm-hmm. Well, number 6 reveals that he is guarding like state secrets or something. So, yeah, not really much of a revelation. You know, he had this one in his back pocket, probably really anxious to pull it out at all points during the show. And when he did, it kind of just fell flat. He was like, "Really? Like we already knew that."
I'm still waiting for them to reveal why he resigned and just have it be something like, you know what, I just didn't like my job.
Yeah, I wasn't protecting other people. I just got tired of it.
Yeah, you just got bored, you know? Just didn't like shaving people's heads anymore.
While wearing a clown nose.
So, oh yeah, at some point in here, number two asks number six if he resigned for peace of mind, and number six says something like, yeah, basically.
Yeah. You got me. Darn.
You got me. You figured it out. Number two is asking, so number six gets locked into this weird jail cell that's in this room for some reason. And number two asks number six a couple times why he resigned, but also a couple of other questions. And I don't know if you noticed this, and I don't even know why I noticed this, but number two asks the question twice, and the second time he asks it, it's clearly dubbed in because Leo McKern's mouth just isn't moving at all. You would be forgiven for not noticing it because there's a cut in the middle of the line, and you only notice it when it cuts to the second angle, and you just realize, like, hang on a minute, Leo McKern's mouth is, like, not moving at all.
He's a pro-ventriloquist.
I would actually be genuinely impressed, honestly. Would be genuinely impressed.
There are a couple other scenes we skipped too that we should probably mention because they involve they imply that number 6 was part of a war, presumably World War II. I mean, given the time period, but I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. Maybe.
Well, so Papa Paso reckons because Patrick McGoohan said that this was autobiographical, that it's probably World War II. Let me just find the exact line on this page. Because Patrick McGoohan would have been too young to fight in the war. Yeah. He would have been only 7. The war ended when he was 17. So when number 2 says, like, oh, you're 19 and you're just dropping bombs on us to prove a point, like, that's probably referring to World War II. Mm-hmm. Because, again, that war ended when McGoohan was 17 and he would be too young to fight in the war himself. And because we know canonically number 6 shares Patrick McGoohan's birthday.
Oh, yeah, true. So what was this? Like, he wasn't part of the war, but he wanted to be. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. We also get some other scenes with number 2 and number 6 as like a boxing coach and a boxer. And another one where they're fencing, and number 6 injures number 2 because the little tip comes off of the blade. After number 2 yells at number 6 to kill him.
Great.
We also skipped the whole speeding ticket thing. Number 6 got a speeding ticket before his job interview. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Got a speeding ticket. Number 2 is playing the judge. I don't know where they got this judge outfit in this room of nothingness.
They have a lot of stuff. Yeah, the speeding ticket, just goes to show you, like, the whole thing of the show is, like, progress made too fast is no progress at all. So, speeding is the literal embodiment of that. So, I guess just goes to show you. Just goes to show you. Yeah, I'm saying that in a joking way, but in a way, like, yeah, kind of. But also in a way that's, like, kind of funny, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, then they go into this sort of jail cell house thing. They don't explain this until later. I don't know why. But eventually, we should just explain now. So, eventually, number 2 is like, yeah, this thing's pretty cool. It moves. It has, like, an unlimited supply of food, like anything you could ever want. It's a full room.
Well, 6 months.
All right, well, 6 months is like
food.
65,000 years, so.
What? Where did you pull that number out of?
Look, 6 months is like 4.6 billion years.
What? 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 Yeah, it's kind of like a. I imagined it as being like a railway car that can just like move out of the room, I guess.
Yeah, it almost reminded me. Have you ever seen that old Disney cartoon where it's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, and they're in this like it's either a train or a car. I don't know what it is, but it has like a bunch of amenities in other cars of it, and they're eating something. They're eating food, and Goofy goes, "Wait, if you're here and I'm here and Donald is here, then who's driving the train?" And it starts going haywire, and they're on this mountain. Yeah,
The classic cartoon strip logic where everything is fine until someone points
yeah,
out that it's not fine.
yeah. Kind of reminded me of the little dining cart that they're in at that point. Sort of just looked like someone's kitchen.
It does just look like a kitchen. It doesn't look like there would be anywhere for you to sleep or even do anything meaningful with your life in that little like train car looking thing,
Yeah,
except like cook for
yeah.
the rest of your life. So weird, but all right.
At some point in this entire sequence, number two goes, the patient must come to trust his doctor. Check out Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast.
Wow. Wow.
Look, if we're going to dive into this muddled, murky swamp of an episode, we're going to have to dredge up something tangible. And that's what it is. We're explaining this also, I mean, people listening probably get this already, but we're explaining this so completely out of order that it's not even funny because there just is no way to keep any of this straight in your mind, even if you take notes.
It's a little bit funny. Don't even
Yeah,
lie. It's
it
a
is.
little bit funny. Yeah, I took notes and I'm still having
Yeah,
difficulty keeping
same.
this in order. So after number two's been imprisoned for a little while, number six, I guess. Oh my god, number six has been imprisoned for a little while. Number two is like, okay, I'll let you out now
Yeah, this
for a
is
little
after
bit.
number six gets a knife from the kitchen and asks number two to kill him.
He's basically begging him. He's like, kill me, kill me,
This
kill
is the
me.
point in the episode for some reason where number two explains the embryo room and the like little train cart thing. Like, why didn't they explain that before? It comes after the fact. Weirdly enough.
I don't know. You know, I thought that it might be for some, great purpose where number two is going to get trapped in there and then have to use some sort of something in that room to get out. Alas, number two just freaking eats it.
Well, at least he's not putting the cart before the horse, calling this thing the embryo room, explaining what it is, and then letting that play out. He's really, letting the thing do its own describing where we kind of see what's going on, and then he names it.
That's true.
Because, we do that
That's
every
true.
day, without even thinking about it. You might walk up to someone and say, like, hey, like, I have an extra banana. Do you want a banana? And, like, really what you're saying there is, do you want this yellow oblong fruit that we call a banana? Yet you're not like you're obscuring that by saying the word banana. It's not what you really mean. And if we could just discard everything and not communicate except with maybe like pointing and it would just be a lot more clear what we mean and what things are.
What?
You
That was almost as
you heard it here
confusing as
first,
this episode.
folks. Just point at things instead of calling them what they are.
I'm pointing at things right now, and you can't even tell, thanks to the magic of like
Thanks to the magic of the quarantine.
yeah.
Thanks, Corona.
Because some of us are still taking this somewhat seriously.
I I really wonder, I've been thinking about this for the last 3 seconds and it's really getting to me. Is what is, how's Corona, the company, the beer, dealing with coronavirus? It's not a good time for them. Just
Didn't stock in Corona shoot up
Oh, I don't know.
at the start of all of this?
I have no idea. Yeah, I guess no publicity is bad publicity. Or no, whatever the saying is, no such thing as bad publicity. So.
Yeah. All publicity is good publicity. Or something, yeah. Which is not like strictly true, but
I guess. It's mostly true, but like, yeah. Yeah. So I like the little pun that number 2 delivers here, where he's explaining the little cart thing. He's like, it has built-in bars, which is like, and then he goes over to the bar, like the kitchen bar, but obviously also referring to the prison bars.
Pretty funny. Good job, Patrick.
Yeah,
you put something funny in your scripts.
How could Markstein decry this? I mean, this is just genius.
Very easily. Very easily. By literally just being like, you know what, this is dumb.
There are a lot of actually funny things, though, in the prisoner scripts, and I feel like people just don't focus on them because they want to focus on the other things that they think are more serious. But there actually is quite a bit of comedy, intentional or otherwise, in this show.
There are a lot of like sitcom elements, like situational comedy elements, like this. I would say this is only funny because of the situation, really.
Yeah. Well, so for sitcom, I don't know the origin of that term, but I always kind of thought it meant that like it's situational comedy in the sense that like each week the characters get into a new situation, and then that situation, they resolve it and go back to normal by the end of the episode. So it's not a progressing plot. It's just like a slice of life. Each episode is a new situation.
Well, honestly, I don't know where the term comes from or what it refers to. I'm just using the fact that like a lot of these humorous moments in The Prisoner are funny because of the situation that they're in. And I mean, that may be true, what you said for the origin/definition of the term sitcom. But I just don't know. So yeah. I just don't know.
Neither do I. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll try and figure it out. And by figure it out, I mean look it up, not like, sit there racking my mind about where it came from. Some more stuff happens. I don't even know what. They reveal that like little doomsday clock thing that's counting down from 60.
Yeah, because they've only got 1 minute left.
Yeah. And sure enough, at the end of the 7 days...
7 weeks, can you imagine?
Yeah. Number 2 dies.
Well, okay, we did skip a little bit of this, but number 2 gets locked in the cell room by number 6 for a little bit, and then eventually number 6 lets him out like with 15 seconds to go, and then basically number 6 is taunting number 2 and he's asking him a question, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, I think it's just like, why are you doing this, essentially, or why don't you resign?
Yeah, that was it. It was, why don't you resign? Maybe number 6 resigned because... Never mind. I don't know where I was going with that.
All right.
So yeah, number 2 keels over and dies. Supervisor comes in. He's like, so would you like to meet number 1? I think number 6 just goes like, yeah, or something like that.
Well, I think the supervisor comes in and says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And number 6 says, "Take me to number 1." And the supervisor says, "All right, I can do that."
Yeah. Yeah. It turns out all you need to do to figure out who number 1 is ask the supervisor. Number 6 is just asking the wrong guy the entire time.
And then it ends
Yeah.
on a cliffhanger.
Has number 6 ever talked to the supervisor? I forget.
I don't think so. Not before this.
Yeah, I think this is their first meeting, at least on screen. Obviously, number 6 has been in the village for a whole damn year, so maybe they met off screen.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, ends on a cliffhanger, like you said, though.
Which was frustrating.
They're not just going to reveal who number 1 is right then and there. They're
Why
going to make
not?
you wait, because they're going to make you wait.
They should have just ended it with the supervisor coming in and asking number 6 what he wants to do, and number 6 being, "Well, I have some ideas," just implying that he's going to take over the village and reform it in his own image or something.
And then it ends. The show just ends right then and there.
That would be a bravo Patrick moment if it did, honestly.
It ends in a much more bravo Patrick moment. And you know, I know what you're thinking right now. How do you get a more Patrick McGoohan episode than Once Upon a Time? Well, you haven't watched Fallout yet.
I already greatly dislike Patrick McGoohan's personality as a person. Can't wait for that to be even further shattered next week.
All right, so I wanted to ask before we kind of get into our little segments here, if you were number 6 and the supervisor came in and asked you what you wanted to do, would you go and meet number 1 like number 6 actually does, or would you just say, "Get me the heck out of here, I want to go home, I want to leave the village"?
That one. I'd literally like, just get me out of here.
Yeah, so would I. This is a missed opportunity, I think. He has one request ostensibly that's going to be fulfilled, and he uses it to meet number 1 instead of leaving the village.
It's like that dumb comic where these 3 guys on an island find a genie and he gives them each one wish, and the first 2 people wish to be like, one person wishes to be off the island in like Europe or something, and one wishes to be in America or Africa. The other person's like, I'm lonely. I wish my friends were back here.
Yeah.
Just great.
I wish I knew what to wish for. The best wish. Number 6 should have just said, "I want unlimited." Like, the supervisor doesn't ask like, "What do you wish for?" But he should have just been like, he should have just loopholed his way into having like unlimited power.
Yeah, he should have just said something like, "Give me control of the village."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Sorry, what?" So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's that.
Shocking end to the episode. I actually was frustrated that it had a cliffhanger more than anything else, really. I was just like, oh, God.
Yeah, there's absolutely no precedent for this in this show. Because all the other ones were self-contained.
Almost just watched Fallout right then and there.
Wow. Yeah, maybe you should just watch it right after we record. Just get that off your plate.
No, I'll probably just leave it for another 6 days.
Yeah. Well, that's the true prisoner experience where you have to kind of wait. I think I watched my first watch through. I watched these right back to back. I was like, I have to know. I can't walk away from the computer without knowing.
Was it worth it?
Oh yeah. Fallout is in my top 3 episodes of this show. This one is not in the top 3, just for the record.
Huh, that's interesting.
Fallout, yeah. Yeah. I honestly don't have much more to say about this one.
I don't either, except that it was just like, in some ways, incomprehensible almost. It's like a mystery box that you have to unwrap.
I don't necessarily think so. Maybe that's just because I've watched it like 3 times, but I mean, I think it's pretty clear that like we're going through number six's past.
I absolutely think it's because you've seen it multiple times. Because I do feel like if I watched this a second time, I would be able to follow it and understand it a lot better than I did the first time through.
Did you not get that these were like scenes from number six's childhood and
No,
Hmm,
not at
okay.
all.
Gotcha.
But I feel like watching it a second time would make that obvious or more obvious. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so that's my thoughts on that. Really,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember whether I, you know, quote got this unquote the first time around, or at least understood that these were like us going through number six's from like number two says cradle to grave, although he hasn't reached the grave yet. I can't remember whether I got that or not on the first watch through. Honestly, I wish I could remember.
yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to know, but also it doesn't like matter that much.
Yeah.
Just interesting. I'm sure on a second watch through, I would get this more, and then on a third watch through, I'd be like, "Why am I doing this to myself?"
I didn't think it was as bad as I thought it was. Like I was kind of dreading this episode because it is a slog, but I didn't think it was as bad as I was expecting.
No, I don't think this episode was bad at all. I did actually quite enjoy it. I just found it to be quite the experience. Let's just say.
Yeah, there's nothing else like this that I've ever seen, at least in any show.
Yeah, I agree. No other episode of a TV show is this much of a fever dream.
Yeah, and there's some fever dreamish episodes out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know it. We've watched some fever dreams for our stuff. I mean,
Sapphire Steel, just the entirety
Sapphire
of
Steel.
that show.
Neverending Story 3 was a fever dream for a different reason.
Check out Triple Play, a movie trilogy podcast, where we subjected ourselves to that. And Troll 2. Troll 2, I think, has some relation to this episode in its structure and structural integrity. The stupid pun is even in there with it's goblin spelled backwards, almost as really on the nose and off the cuff as like it has built-in bars, except a lot less clever. Just to remind everyone.
Well, that
of
like that revelation too was a major plot point in the movie. They were like, "Holy shoot, the goblins are real because Nilbog is just goblin spelled backwards."
And then there was the whole "there's no way we could hold a seance right here, right now" element. And then, which cut obviously to them holding a seance, but hey, you know what? Maybe Troll 2 pioneered re-pioneered because the prisoner was first, regression therapy because, what's his face's grandfather came out of that mirror back from the dead, told his grandson how to make Molotov cocktails, and then returned to the afterlife like it was nothing. So,
I forgot about that whole element of the movie that his grandfather came back from the dead just to teach him how to wage war. Don't forget about the peeing all over the food scene. Which just like still like whose first thought is to stop everyone from eating the food? Whose first thought is peeing?
Yeah, just flip the table or something, right? Like,
I love that moment in the movie too when he unzips his pants and he goes, "I don't know if I can do this."
Maybe just try and convince everyone that they don't want to eat copious amounts of green frosting. That might have worked.
Just literally throw it on the floor.
Yeah, take a page out of the Lonely Islands book.
I'm still also impressed that the kid could just summon pee from
from a higher dimension, the astral plane.
He was just like, "I'm gonna pee now," and then he did. All right, we're like way off topic.
So segments.
Forgot how much of a fever dream triple play can be at times.
Yeah, I felt like I was living through a fever dream when we were watching full serials of Doctor Who, Sapphire and Steel, and movie trilogies, all while I was working like 18 hours a day, getting 1 hour of sleep per day. That was certainly a time and a half.
Oh, God.
Anyway, our main topic, which is how many of Britain's 10 actors are in this episode, is totally moot and not doable this week because we've literally covered every single person.
Unless you, for some reason, looked up that random guy who answered number 6's questions in that one scene.
No, I didn't. Maybe we should have, but I didn't.
I didn't either. There's also who is number 1, and just honestly, I don't know, except for the person on the phone. Like, it would have to be the guy on the phone.
Yeah.
Guy or girl on the phone.
Yeah, there's just no way to answer that question this week. This is just so far removed from the context in which we started this segment that it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, no idea.
And as for whether this was a win or loss, I mean, it looks like a win, sure, on the surface, but, like, I don't know. I don't, like...
I mean, it's mostly a win because number 2 just up and dies.
And number 6 is presumably getting an audience with number 1. But who knows what that's going to even lead to. I mean, I do, and anyone who's watched the show does, but at this point in the show, if you hadn't watched, you wouldn't know. So,
but number 6 also does reveal part of, why he resigned, or at least gets very close to explaining it.
True.
So, yeah, probably mostly a win, though, I would say. Probably mostly a win.
I would say so, too. Do you think that Fallout is going to be a win or a loss?
Well, I think it's going to be a win, but I hope it's a loss.
Wow. Does this episode have the Patrick McGoohan's face getting slammed in by the bars, or no? I can't remember.
I don't remember now. Now that you've asked me to recall if I did or not, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of peeing on command.
Losing my memory on command. Nice.
Well.
So anyway, now I have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, that's all I have. Can't wait to rewatch Fallout and just dive into everything. Because, yeah, it's wild.
Well, I have an email from Boz to read. On DNFMOND. This episode is my least favorite of the 17, but then the worst prisoner episode is still head and shoulders above most other shows. The absence of McGoohan is a problem. It was written to cover his filming of Ice Station Zebra in the States, hence the title of the episode, and the use of My Body Lies Over the Ocean throughout, ? It really has the feel of the first episode of a new season, which I think it was intended if the show was to run 26 episodes over 2 seasons. Apparently season 2 would have seen number 6 move out beyond the village. Thankfully, this never happened. Peace, love, and truth, Boz. I really hope it's pronounced Boz and not Baz.
Yeah, otherwise we've been pronouncing it wrong for, like, years.
I've just been assuming it's pronounced Boz because Baz Luhrmann is spelt the same way and is pronounced Boz as far as I know. Mm-hmm. I hope.
Yeah, just correct us if it is pronounced any other way.
But anyway, yeah, thanks for those thoughts, Boz, I don't think I would have liked to see number 6 move out of the village, in all honesty. I think that would be a mistake. And it was all right for one episode, but imagine seeing like 3 episodes in a row with the number 6 outside the village. You'd just be like, what's going on? Is this even the prisoner anymore?
Yeah, the show feels very coherent because of the village setting. And the few times that he does go out of the village, it's kind of just a fake out. He's really still, or he comes back. And I think that works. But then having an actual escape, I don't think would work to the show's benefit.
Right. Agreed.
So we have a Facebook comment as well. This one was from Alex.
Nice.
This is he also touches on Trust Your Doctor, or our Doctor Who podcast, but it was mostly related to this podcast. So Alex goes, I'm loving your Prisoner series and have been loving the Torchwood series, because we're watching Torchwood on Trust Your Doctor. I just know that 2-part finale to Series 1 of Torchwood is angsty as heck, and I'm not exactly in the mood for angst right now. I'll catch up when I can take an emotional punch to the gut. Feel free to skip this paragraph if you read this comment out. Too late. We read everything.
I like to imagine you didn't read this comment beforehand and then read that line and were like, well, can't go back now.
I forgot about the line. I read the comment, but I forgot that he said that. So kind of best of both worlds there. But anyway, he goes on. Regarding what to watch next that's short, there is, of course, Firefly, the Quatermass series, and the Stone Tape, but I would also put in a vote for the original 3 series of Star Trek during this early era. I just finished watching Star Trek Enterprise and have 4.5 series left of Star Trek Voyager before I'm caught up with all Trek series that are not still being made. I know how much of a time and energy commitment this is, so why am I recommending Star Trek the Original Series? Star Trek the Original Series is short by comparison. There is precisely one 2-part story in its run, and there is no continuity to worry about between series. You could even break the series up into halves if you wanted to avoid burnout. Half Series 1 of TOS, then Firefly, the Stone Tape, or even Ghostwatch before returning to second half. Star Trek the Original Series is weird and wacky and would fit well into this early era of Inevitable with shows like Sapphire and Steel and The Prisoner. Once you finish the original series, I then suggest you place a ban on reviewing any other Star Trek for at least a year, with the possible exception of the animated series, as it is only 18 episodes. Dylan, I waffle for ages. Save your throat and summarize if you do read this out, or let Keon do some of the reading. Lol.
Keon's reading the whole comment, so I'm off the hook this week.
We split it up, so Dylan does the emails, and then I do the social media stuff. Because I do the social media stuff, which is why it's like so terribly managed.
And I manage the email account. Yeah, if you hate the social media account, blame Keon.
Seriously, though, the original series is something I watched after Deep Space Nine and TNG, and I think it suffered as a result. Watch it in this early stage, then give yourself a year or more before you even think about other captains. Save your sanity. I love your show as ever, and thank you for helping me stay sane through, well, everything, lol. Well, thanks, Alex, for that sentiment. Means a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I know Alex has also commented and messaged me before, too, about how our podcasts are actually helping him through, the whole quarantine ordeal, which is like, wow, not something that I ever thought we'd get a message about. But yeah, thank you. That's
not something I ever thought we had the ability to do.
Yeah. Those are some great recommendations, I think. I can't believe we didn't think of Firefly. That's a short, all-time classic.
I was actually thinking of it while we were recording this episode and was going to suggest it off recording. So I'm glad Alex brought it up to put it into the public record that has been recommended to us now.
Yeah. Have you watched Firefly?
I've watched... I'm sure I've explained this on the show, but every time I explain this to someone, they're like, no, that's the worst way to watch Firefly. I watched the first episode of Firefly, and then I watched Serenity.
Yeah, so you just got the beginning and the end.
Yes. And I can blame my teacher in high school for that, because we watched them in class, and that was the way we watched them.
Wow. I think I know exactly what teacher that is, by the way. Just from you saying that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I've watched I've watched all of it, Firefly and Serenity, and yeah, it is a great show. I think it's a little overrated because people say it's like the best thing in the world, but it's a great show.
Well, that's something we can dive deep into
Yeah,
if we watch the show.
yeah. And honestly, just now having talked about it, I think Firefly is, with its length and its overall quality, is shot way up on our list.
Well, we've already got the next 2 seasons of this show figured out. And I don't know if we want to announce them right now. We are coming to the end of this season of Inevitable. So we will have to announce it soon.
Yeah, let's pull a Patrick McGoohan and keep people waiting.
Wow. Okay. Well, I will just say we figured out the next 2 seasons of Inevitable.
Yeah.
And we mostly figured them out because we were like, what do people keep suggesting to us that we want people to stop suggesting to us? So we'll just do them. So they're out of the way. Beyond the next 2 seasons, I think there's a big fat question mark over what's going to be coming. But thankfully, we don't have to figure that out anytime soon.
Yeah, we can just figure it out 5 minutes before we make the decision, like we always do.
Yeah, I think figuring out the next 2 seasons of Inevitable is like some of the furthest in advance we've actually figured this out.
Anyway, yeah, thanks again for the email, or the comment rather, Alex. And yeah, that's all I had from the Facebook side of things.
Yep. Thanks for reaching out, and yeah, thanks for just reaching out. I always enjoy hearing from our listeners. And so on that topic, if anyone would like to reach out, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the end of The Prisoner as we come to the conclusion of the show. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and pretty much any podcasting platform at Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. Next time, we finally wrap up The Prisoner with Fallout. But until then, the end.